Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So as promised on the previous video, I'm going to be going through what my first days were like, what I've covered, what I've felt like, perhaps some stumbling blocks that I've come across in the first term, which is really just about 6.5 weeks it was, maybe 7, I can't remember. But yeah, just to see how that felt and sort of progressing through those weeks. So if you want to know more, then stay tuned. Okay, so in my first couple of days, we had a couple of in-service days. We spent that time going through some of our expectations, policies, lots of different things that were, we were supposed to do in those time periods. We've got some training that we had to do. We had some training, some workshops on those days as well, and we had a little bit of time to look at our classrooms and sort them out. I know that in the last video I said I spent quite a lot of time sorting out my classroom, and I do feel that it was relatively well sorted, but there's always room for more, always room for more. So in those first few days, I can remember thinking that what I would be like is, I'll just, I'll be able to get through to break time, and then I'll be able to get through until lunchtime, and then I'll be able to get through until home time, and that'll be my first day done. But to be perfectly honest, those days went like that. It was so quick. You're really spending that time getting to know the children, pushing through what they know, what they don't know, looking at your expectations. And I would spend quite a bit of time actually looking at what you're expecting from them. And I mean that literally, because I would literally say, this is how I'm expecting when you get up out of your seat, you tuck your chair back in. So I'd physically go to a chair and I would tuck it back in. When I was looking at their desks and say, well, this is what I am expecting. Are you expecting everybody to put everything in a neat pile in the middle? Are you expecting everybody to put everything away? Are you expecting, if you're not finished a lesson, what does that look like? Do you leave your books open and keep everything all in a neat pile at their desk? Or do you push everything into the middle? How do you want that to look? And that's something to really think about and be quite explicit to them, because what you don't want is 2 or 3 weeks down the line and go, well, that's not what I meant. The kids really need to explicitly know what you mean and what you want them to do, because different teachers expect different things. Okay, so bear that in mind, and don't believe that if you turn around and say tidy up, that they're going to do it the way that you want to. So just be aware of that. What I also did was I took the kids out. I got them standing up. I read. That's what I did. I read The Classroom Management Secret. I can't remember who the author is, but I'll put the link in down below. I read The Classroom Management Secret, and what basically the author says is to really impress on them your expectations. Not you should be doing this and you should be doing that, but actually just giving them a chance, a fighting chance as to what you expect. So what I did is I got everybody to stand up and line up. I asked them not to make any noise, and then if anybody did make a noise, then everybody would sit back down. So someone did make a noise, and I said, nope, sit back down. And so they sat back down, and we did this a couple of times until they were like, oh, she means no noise. Because that's really important as well, because when you say you know, I don't want you to make any noise. A lot of children and a lot of adults as well just think that you want them to be quieter, but actually there's points and times where you just don't want them to make any noise whatsoever. And that's nothing is more important about that than at the time where you're trying to walk through a school and you're not trying to disturb anybody. So that was really important for me, to make sure that they were completely quiet, because there's a lot of times where we are going through the school, so we're going to gym class, we're going to, you know, we're going outside, and we don't want to disturb other people. We don't want a big rabble outside your class. If you're trying to get your class on task and there's this massive rabble outside, the children in that class are going to find it very difficult not to be looking outside and wondering what's going on. So it was really important for me to do that, and we spent a couple of times just walking around the school, making things very familiar. They had changed rooms as well, so I took that opportunity to point out the different areas where the toilets were, where the lunch hall was, you know, because they had been in a different room, so the orientation was completely different. So I did spend a lot of time actually doing this, and it's paid off dividends, because actually when I want my children to line up, when I take my children to assemblies, anything like that, they are the ones that come back with the sort of superstar a superstar attitude, but also the superstar praise from other members of staff, which really helps boost their self-esteem. I've already told my children that they were chosen. They were chosen by me, that I could have chosen anybody in the entire school, and I chose them. Because they were the highest achieving, they were the most enthusiastic, they were the greatest in terms of, you know, a body of class that I could possibly have. And there had been people that had changed classes as well, and I had chosen them. Now, one of the reasons that I did that was to make them feel, or make them know, how important they were to me. Obviously I didn't get to choose the class, but it was so very, very important to me that they knew on the level that they had chosen me and I had chosen them. You know, whatever you believe, that sort of spiritual out there, I absolutely believe that that's what's meant to be, and these children were chosen for me to teach. So yeah, boosting kids' self-esteem is, you know, one of my number one priority, really. Not blowing smoke up them, but actually genuinely giving them the praise that they deserve. And I'm not big on sort of consequences. I don't particularly like consequences. It's not that I've not used them, but I don't particularly like them because I don't think they're as effective as you know, as praises. And it's not false praise. So, you know, that, oh, look at, you know, Joanne, isn't she sitting so lovely? And in the hope that someone right next to them is going to sit up lovely. It is the fact that you are giving genuine praise and saying, do you know, you really, I can see how hard you tried today. I can see that you're well on your way to actually being the best you possibly can be, and I think that you know, we can do better. We can do even better tomorrow. What do you think? Having them on board it's pretty special. You know how emotional I get. So, but I'm thinking about certain children, and you know, I'm so lucky with my class. My class is just, they're so nice, they're so eager, so keen. There's lots of people that I'm sure have different experiences, but my class, they're pretty special, and I'm really, really lucky to have them. So what did I do, and how did I feel after those, you know, first couple of days? Well, I would say that we had a school outing on week 2. Oh, having never really been on a school outing before, that was fun. But you know, you make sure that your parent helpers are on board, and that you're communicating with them, and actually it was really good. The kids enjoyed it, and we were able to break it down and really talk about what we did throughout the next lesson. There's a couple of things that I was trying to desperately get into place. You know, there was a point in time in the second week, given the first week was only 3 days long. In the second week, you're sort of you're trying to really, yes, get to know your class, but then also try to fit in you know, some work, you know, maybe it's some reading or some you know, some math, so that they've got you're starting to get an idea as to how they work, because as much as you need to get to know them and build that relationship up with them, it's important to start to develop the expectation that we will be working, and you know, what working in this class is going to be like. I've got a primary 4, so that's right in the middle of the school, which means that they are making the transition from the lower school to the upper school, and there's big changes. You know, they've changed class, they've changed where they are in terms of orientation, they've changed teacher, and now they're changing the way that they're working as well, because it's much more focused on, you know, building up those skills that they've been experimenting with over in the lower end. So yeah, that was challenging. It's challenging for them and it's challenging for me, because I sort of set my expectation here, which was absolutely fine, but then actually what they could achieve was here, but then I did something else and they were able to achieve here. So I was like, I need to push what my expectation and what their capabilities are, and I need to match that more. That was a very tricky thing to do. I just felt, especially in maths, reading, writing, you know, spelling, that all seemed to sort of fit in place. We had some information from the previous teacher, and I was able to have a look at what they had done before in terms of spelling, in terms of writing, in terms of reading. But when it comes to maths, I just felt like I was bouncing at first between this side and this side, just somewhere in between, and I knew I was getting closer and closer, but it felt frustrating to me that I didn't know them straight away. You know, these expectations that you, well, potentially, and I certainly did, put on yourself, they are sometimes unrealistic. And a little bit of it is about trial and error and trying to get the exact match for your children. It's not for your class, it's for each individual child, because that will vary as well. I've never seen such a variance of experience, you know, and I do call it experience. People that have had more exposure to certain things than others, and it's not about their ability. They're better or worse than the next kid. It's about how much experience and how much exposure they have had to the certain thing that you're teaching. Place value. Oh, that's another thing. Place value is a very good place to start. I did not have a clue where to start in terms of maths. I didn't know that there might be an order of how it would go. And I thought, well, do I start with addition and subtraction? Do I start with, you know, I know I'm not going to start with fractions, but, you know, do I start with time? Do I start with, you know, all these different things? And I really didn't know where to start with. But if you start with place value, and, you know, layout is such an important thing. Writing on your square board so that they're matching it with their square paper, making sure that there's one number in one box, that the addition is there, that the line is underneath if you're doing a chimney sum. but this one number in one box thing is pretty key, and I think the layout of their work is uber important. Yeah, so I'm just looking at my timetables here, and I think by the time that week 3 came, I started to get into a rhythm. In Scotland, you have one day that is personal development day, in which you spend in the school or out at the local authority training. So a lot of the training in my first couple of weeks was out at local authority, so I didn't feel like I was able to catch up on what I needed to catch up on, and I was literally learning new things, so it felt quite overwhelming. You're trying to stay as late as possible to get as much done for the next day, and you're still doing stuff at home, so that's not going to change. If you're a student just now and you're feeling like you're never going to get out the bit of actually working till 11-12 o'clock at night, then certainly in those first few weeks that's going to be exactly the same thing. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting ahead of myself now, now that I'm in the holidays, but I feel like I know the class enough so that I can actually plan some more lessons and have an idea of how my weeks are going to go, how the term is going to go. I think in those first few days you're literally planning day by day, but as you progress throughout that term, you start to progress, maybe just a couple of days at a time, and then into a week ahead. Now I feel like I am a week ahead, and actually I can get a loose plan as to what to plan for the next term. Yeah, there's loads of learning, and I think that's why I've been so exhausted once we finished our October term, or our term in October. I've just had to sleep for the last 2 days. I am shattered beyond measure, but I'm starting to I feel like I've got a bit more energy now, and I'm still learning, I'm still doing personal development, I'm still planning. So certainly for me, these holidays are not proper holidays, and I'm glad that I decided that I wasn't going to go away anywhere for the 2 weeks, because I think I'd feel under pressure and a bit overwhelmed by the time I came back again, and I don't want to feel like that again until I have to the next year, because that's ultimately what we'll all feel. So hope that gives you a little bit of insight. Feel free that if you want to comment down below some questions that you might have about this first term. I'm hoping to try and keep more up to date with it as well, and for you guys to know more. Try and keep the videos quite succinct. I know that this is quite long, but try and keep them more succinct, and get your questions answered. So if you do want to ask questions, comment down below. I will try my best to answer them. Sometimes I don't get notifications, so if I haven't got the notification, I'm really sorry. It's not my intention to miss you out. But if you do want to know more, then comment down below and I'll do my very best to answer them. In the meantime, guys, have a great day, and don't forget to be the best you can be. Bye.